Hi, I'm Heidi, and this is my homestead. Let's go check it out. It is July, and this is the July garden tour. There is a lot of exciting things happening in the garden, and I can't wait to share it with you. So my garden has 5 beds going the direction of this one, and then over there 5 beds going perpendicular to those. And this one is currently tarped off to kill some weeds, and then the one on the far side is the old strawberry bed, which will eventually also be tarped off. So in the first bed here we have some little sunflowers that I plugged in, and then zucchini. I kind of just had this cap end open, and so I plugged in a few zucchini, and they are really going great. And look, a little bee friend. Next to the zucchini, I have 2 different types of beans. This first one is green beans for eating fresh green beans, and also I'm hoping to can some of those this year. And then I know where my black turtle beans start because I planted one nasturtium that is really taking off to kind of be the dividing line. So it does look a little chaotic in here, but one of the things I like about bush beans is that you don't have to do a mulch on them because they will really cover the entire soil themselves. And then next to the beans are the peas, and those are just about done. Let's get in close and take a look. So here we are at the peas. As you can see, the weight of them when they were producing really just dragged them all the way down. And then we've been collecting them as they've been becoming ripe, and the peas are just about done. Here's a rogue one. Because it's just too hot for them. They're all done for the season, and so my plan is to take these all out, and I'm going to plant in its place some lettuce and mustards. And we can take a look. The green peas have really been great this year. I don't know if you can see those, but yeah, we've collected an entire 2 pints freezer bags worth of beautiful garden peas, and they do taste good, very fresh. All right, moving right along to the second bed, I have 2 more sunflowers, and this year I'm growing the American Mammoth sunflower, which is supposed to get super, super tall. So I'm really excited about that. And then next to the sunflower are zinnias, and they are the white polar bear variety, the scabiosa variety, and queen lime blush. I did pinch these off, and what I mean by that is you come and you find where, see these little tiny leaves here? I took that entire top off, and that is supposed to help it grow even more blooms. So I'll continue to monitor these, and then the small ones, once they're big enough, those will get the tops taken off so that we have more blooms as well. This is a weed. And then on the second half of this bed is the garlic, and the garlic is almost ready to be harvested. And you know when it's time to harvest because 3 leaves up on the stalk will be dead. All right, and now we have the brassica bed, my pride and joy. And I do know that there is a broccoli and a Chinese cabbage in here. So let's go ahead, take the net off, and see what there is to see. Okay, so as you can see, we have some absolutely stunning cabbages that are heading up. These are looking really good. We have Chinese cabbage, which these ones really took the brunt of the insect damage. I think the insects just really loved them, the ones that came up from the soil. But we are gonna go ahead and, ooh, look, slugs. I'm gonna feed those to the chickens. They love slugs. I'm gonna harvest this ginormous Chinese cabbage, and we'll make some kimchi with it. And let's see, this one Ooh, that's got a lot of bug damage. That one still might be growing. We'll wait on that one. And then next to it I have, that is a red cabbage, which is coming along. Definitely needs some more time. Another little red cabbage. Check out this absolutely beautiful broccoli head. We're going to be harvesting that today. I have another little broccoli head still growing. We have, I think these are the Brussels sprouts. Let's take a look underneath. Okay, indeed. Look at these teeny tiny little wannabe Brussels sprouts. I can't wait for those. I love Brussels sprouts. And then this is supposed to be cauliflower, but I'm not seeing any heads of cauliflower yet. We will keep waiting on those. And then these are the broccolini, which has been really fun. They're like little tiny broccolis, and you harvest just these little tips. This is a good example of what it looks like when you don't harvest your broccoli, your broccolini, and it goes to flower. Super beautiful. So over here we have more broccolini that I'm going to harvest. And this is a ginormous weed. Let's go ahead and get that. I'll just toss that over the fence. And these are more Brussels sprouts. And we have another little broccoli, which is still small, so we're going to leave that for another day. All right, and let's get the big head of broccoli. Wow, look at that. I never grown broccoli before. That's great. I think I'm also going to harvest some of these broccoli leaves that are overshadowing the purple cabbage and give them to the chickens. Now you can eat broccoli leaves. You can saute them up, kind of like a kale. They need the little bit of massage to make them more tender, but you can eat these, which is kind of like a 2-for-1 special for food. All right, we're gonna get this Chinese cabbage. It is really a whopper. I'm not sure. Get my wowzers! That is heavy. That's some cabbage. So this thing is absolutely massive. It does have considerable bug damage and slugs, which I had put some eggshells down, which kind of help act as a barrier for slugs because they're unable to move across the eggshells because they're sharp. However, I think the slugs were already there when I put the eggshells down. But I think we'll be all right if I just peel back a whole bunch of these layers. We're gonna be able to have a really nice head of cabbage and be able to make some homemade kimchi out of this. Well, good morning, friends. It is actually the next day because I had to go back inside from last evening's garden tour. So we are going to continue this morning. So we got our coffee and let's go. All right, so moving right along from the cabbage bed to the onion bed. By the way, that Chinese cabbage that we harvested yesterday weighed just over 3 pounds. So that's a ton of food. If you're looking for a high volume food with low calories, cabbage is the way to go. But next we have the onion bed, and I'm growing a bunch of varieties of onions, white, yellow, reds, and some shallots. And the onions are tall enough now that it's time to also top them. And so I'm going to come through with my pruners and take off probably about half of these because, as you can see in this one, once they start to get tall, the weight is just too much for these delicate, essentially onion greens. And the way that the onion finishes growing is when the neck bends over, and that cuts off all of the nutrients going up to the top of the plant and tells the onion that it's all done growing. This onion is not done growing. As we can see, it's quite small still. And so we need to relieve that pressure. So we're going to come through and take off all the tops. I am also growing a decent number of grasses in here, which is not ideal. But grass is actually really hard to distinguish between onion, and because the onions grow so shallow, sometimes when I pull up the grass, the onions like to try to come with it. So we're trying it this way this year, and we will see how it turns out for us. We then have our new strawberry bed. Well, actually, this bed was nothing but a bunch of weeds. And what I did was I took my push lawnmower and I just mowed all the weeds down, and now I have a weed fabric on top of it. For the remainder of the year, I'm going to try to kill off those weeds. This fabric is permeable to water, so water can still get through, so the soil underneath isn't going to get totally dry. But next year we will be planting a very thin strip. I'm thinking more flowers just along the fence line. Then we have the strawberry bed, which this bed did great for its first year. We got the majority of the strawberries out of the old bed, which, as I said in previous videos, we are going to do the exact same thing with the black tarping and the old strawberry bed. This is the new strawberry bed. I'm really pleased with how these tomatillos are turning out. They are probably almost as tall as me. I might have like about a head on them. The only problem with these is I am seeing a lot of pest issues and these are the culprit right here. Can you see those? These are immature potato beetles, and let me see if I can find a mature potato beetle to show you. Alright, I found one. Oop, and he fell off. They have stripes, and they are really doing a number on these tomatillos. I mean, just look at this, completely eaten. And I'm a little bit torn on exactly how to deal with them. So one solution for the potato beetles is if we use a spray or a powder like diatomaceous earth. The only issue with those that I don't like is that this is quite densely planted, and if I use a spray, I'm absolutely going to hit some of the flowers, and the flowers are where the pollinators go, and I need the pollinators because they are pollinating every single one of these little flowers to create the actual tomatillos that we harvest. So in destroying the potato beetles, I would also be hitting the bees and butterflies, which is something I don't want to do. Another option is hand picking them all off, which is I could probably try it for a few days and see how that goes. Again, I have a lot to get through, so it would probably take quite a bit of time. And you can just squish those little larvae with your fingers and then kind of flick off the adult ones. They're pretty fast to catch and squish, so I'm not totally sure what I'm going to do, but I know I need to do something because I really am looking forward to some salsa verde this year. We moved down this row. I had done carrots right here under the board, and nothing really panned out for me, which is okay. I've never successfully grown carrots, actually. Next to the tomatillos, though, I am successfully growing calendula, and they're a little closed up because it's still morning, but they are so beautiful. Here's one. And they are edible, and they have a lot of herbal medicinal properties. So, and they're super pretty to look at. So I'm really happy with those. We also have some beets going on, and this is another case of Heidi forgot what she planted, because I completely forgot that I had planted beets here, and then I was like, oh, what are these cool green leaves growing? And lo and behold, look at this one. We have beet formation, And beets are another 2-for-1 food because the entire plant is edible. You can eat the greens and you can eat the actual beet itself. Right beyond the beets, we have our curly parsley and our flat leaf parsley. We've been harvesting this like crazy and it keeps growing. All we do is just pull off a stalk from the base of the plant and then new shoots come out from the center, and it is essentially endless parsley around here. I then have my cosmos, which I have been diligently deadheading so that you get more and more flowers. And these are probably going to self-seed all over the garden, but I'm not mad about that because I think they're absolutely beautiful. And now we have where originally I planted all of the zucchini, and originally only these 2 came up. So then I went back and I put some more seeds in the ground, and those really didn't do anything. So then I put one more round of seeds in the ground, which was actually a mistake because everything started to come up. So now I have some big ones, medium ones, and then some small ones. So I should have just had a little bit more faith that seeds want to grow, they want to be put in the ground, and plants, they're gonna come up. I wasn't patient, and now really this is wildly too close together with how big zucchini get. I mean, look at this. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plants all right there. These need to be thinned out and moved. Not exactly sure where they'll be moved, but they need to be moved. In the next bed over, we have some really exciting things happening. Here are some sunflowers, again the mammoth ones. I put them on the end so that they don't shade out my other crops because per the packet, they're supposed to get quite tall. And here are the 3 eggplants that last time I was like, I don't know if they're gonna make it. They look very sickly, and they are making it. Tons of flowers, and look at this first, you see it? Little eggplant right there. The rest of the eggplant row is actually the tomato row, and you guys, sometimes life gets in the way and things don't go exactly how you plan. I went through and weeded this with the full intention of getting my mulch down, and now it's been 2 weeks and there's no mulch and the weeds are back. So classically, Mother Earth will cover herself regardless, and you need to choose if you're going to choose what she covers with. Otherwise it's going to be weeds, my friends. So these are all the Roma tomatoes. They're an indeterminate variety, meaning I'm really only very lightly pruning them because all of the fruit is supposed to ripen all at once. This is not one of those vining type of tomatoes. And you can see, look at all these fruit are starting to form, and they should all be ripening at approximately the same time. So the only pruning I'm doing is when there's some dead foliage, like you can see that disease. You just want to come in here, and I need my pruners, and we'll just snip that right off. Actually, I think I have my pruners here. We're just gonna snip this right off, and I'll just throw it over the fence, because what happens is, because I don't have mulch, and because these ones I've been not pruning these as much, and I'll show you another example of ones I really highly prune. When it rains, the splashback from the soil bounces back up onto the leaves, and so any leaves that are close to the ground or touching the ground are very susceptible and most likely going to get that little bit of fungal disease. It's not a big deal. You can just prune them right off like I just did, and your plant will be happy as a clam. Here we have some fruit set for the pink brandy wines. Very excited about that one. And then these ones are the Cherokee purples. It looks like I had a little bit of an issue there, but I think it will recover. Intermixed with the tomatoes, we have the basil. I have sweet, and then I have a lemon basil too, which I like for tea. And I've been coming out and again pinching off the tops of these and they've been bushier and bushier ever since. This started off as just this teeny tiny little, that's what it looked like sticking up out of the ground. And the more you prune them, the bigger they get. Okay, here's a good example of a tomato that I've heavily pruned, and this is the pineapple variety of tomato. And as you can see, I took off all the branches and leaves to the top. Tomatoes like lots of airflow underneath, and even this guy is going to need to come off. The fruit will form, it's going to continue to grow all the way up this trellis, all the way to the top, and the fruiting branches will form up there. So I'm not worried about losing fruit branches down here. Here's the best carrot I grew, and I didn't even plant it. This bed actually had some carrots that we did harvest out of, and I think it was sown from something like this. This is just a carrot, and it went to seed, and now it's starting to lose those seeds, so it will self-seed around the garden, and maybe nature's just better at planting carrots than I am. I don't know, but that's the only way I've been able to get carrots. If we continue down the other side of the tomato row, we have lots of fruit set coming along. So in a few weeks, we are going to be eating good. And here's something exciting. I already have some little ones becoming ripe on this Amish paste tomato. And then right next to the tomatoes is what looks like the biggest patch of weeds you've ever seen. And you could be correct. This is the old strawberry row, and this is exactly why we need to mow it down and put up the weed barrier. Alright, so this is our fun experiment of the drying corn. And the old adage is you want it to be knee-high by 4th of July, which it's past the 4th of July and it is past my knee. So we're growing good. Next we have some more sunflowers that I put along the trellis in the hopes that the trellis would be able to help support them. And I also did that purposefully because I put the cucumbers on the north side of the ginormous sunflower, because cucumbers, they do need sun, but they like to be just a hair shady. And so you can purposefully plant your plants so that they help each other out and you don't lose any amount of space. Now, one thing with cucumbers is they will trellis, but you have to help them. They're not as smart as beans. Well, not that beans are smart, but you need to put their little tendrils around and kind of help them get started. This one is too far away from the trellis yet, because they won't do it for themselves. So we'll just put this there's a little tendril, put that up there so that it will touch it, and then its sensors will say, hey, let's grow here. And then right here, this is exciting, I planted a banana melon, which is just a type of melon. I've never planted a melon. In Michigan, usually we don't have long enough and hot enough days for melons, but we shall see if we get lucky this year. On the other side of the trellis, you can see here are pole beans, which are really just zooming up this trellis. This whole thing will be completely covered with pole beans by the end of the year. And it's really fun to be able to walk underneath there and just harvest from right above your head. So unlike the cucumbers, the beans need no help. They know exactly what to do. They know where they're going and what their mission is. And that mission is up. These are contrasted to the bush beans that we saw earlier, which those will not climb. They will just grow about less than knee high and they bush out. Whereas these grow up, those ones bush out. Which it is kind of nice to grow both types of varieties because that gives you different options. Not everyone has a cattle panel trellis like this or any type of trellis. Maybe you just have a single garden box, and so you can still grow beans. You would just want to grow the bush style, the bush variety. But both varieties are delicious if you like green beans. The potato patch is coming along very nicely. My husband keeps mounding them up, and I see they are starting to die back, which is a good sign because you only harvest potatoes once all of the leaves are dead. Here are some of the green peas that are all finished up. So what I'm going to do is come and just chop them off right at the soil. I'm going to leave the roots because they fix nitrogen from the soil, or excuse me, they fix nitrogen from the air and put it in the soil, which is exactly what lots of plants need to grow. And then the rest will go either compost or to the chickens. And then if we continue on through here, here is the second potato patch. And this is where we planted the majority of our potatoes. And we were quite disappointed because the pine shavings were holding so much moisture. We thought a lot of them rotted out. And a lot of them did rot out. However, we had a little bit of rain last week and more potatoes just sprouted up, so we're pretty excited about that. This section slowly but surely will be reclaimed, but it continues to be the wilderness, which has its own pros and cons. I see lots of great bees and butterflies hanging out in here and tons of beautiful wildflowers. So the daylilies have not opened for the day yet. They do close up at night. However, I wanted to show you these lilies over here. Absolutely stunning cream variety. I don't know what they're really called. And then we have some beautiful yellow. Like, look at that. Doesn't get much better than this. It's a show all summer. Over by the door into our house, I have another variety of lily, which is more of a orange sherbet color, very peachy, very orange, which I absolutely adore. However, those have not bloomed yet. They are coming soon, blooms. So there we have it, the June garden. I expect next video we're going to be harvesting some tomatoes together, and probably pulling out the rest of the cabbages, which is really exciting. I'm going to go ahead and cut the tops off of those onions, and we will end the video like we have previously with a little peek at the ladies, or the chickens. See you next time. Hey ladies! They stay in the chicken yard in the morning so that they lay their eggs in the appropriate place, and then later in the day they get to free range. And there's what remains of the Chinese cabbage from yesterday. They make quick work of it. Hey girl!